The wickets keep falling at the Eden Gardens. 2 days play done, and I think it's pretty safe to say tomorrow will be the last day of this first test match, which will trigger all kinds of conversation, debates and opinions on the Eden Gardens surface, among other things. But where does this game stand? Are South Africa still in with a chance, even though that scorecard looks pretty sorry? No batter can even get past 40 in this test match dominated by spin in the second innings at least. This is Bajaj Finserv Mutual Fund presents ESPNcricinfo Matchday. We'll hear from Vernon Philander very shortly. Before that, the former batting coach. And as I say batting coach, I think he's very relieved batting coach that he's former batting coach now. You do not want to be in the dugout right now with batters coming and saying, coach, what to do?
I think Bavuma showed what to do because
Yes.
he showed great application. I felt that he was a standout batter who trusted his defense, who was looking to play on the front foot all the time. And that's the kind of game plan that you at times have to have, irrespective of thinking that you can also play off the back foot. But on such surfaces, you have to get to the pitch of the ball, and he certainly showed that if you can trust your defense, you can survive on the pitch and you can find a way to score runs.
What about where this test match just stands right now? What are your immediate thoughts on the kind of cricket that we've seen? Yesterday you thought it was challenging, but not necessarily unplayable. Is it fair to say today it looked unplayable?
It did look unplayable, and I mean, because we are seeing everything here from the studios and not have a first-hand feel of how the pitch is or what sort of a dryness is on that particular surface. So, but it clearly seemed that it was quite dry underneath, and some of the balls that just reared off the length, the ball that reared off just with Bumrah to Rickleton, wasn't really great advertisement for Test cricket.
I think Vernon Philander has now joined us, and I think there will be a more deep conversation about what these kind of surfaces do for Test cricket. Sanjay says it's not a good advertisement for Test cricket. Now, Vernon, give me your first thoughts just on witnessing the day's play in the fashion that we have.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. I mean, at the end of day two, we've lost 26 wickets, and I think a top score of 39 in KL Rahul. And you also look at the time it took him to get to that 39 runs. I think 119 deliveries. So I don't think there's a fair contest between bat and ball. Yes, I mean, I'm all for surfaces being a bit tricky, but at some stage that surface has to ease out a little bit, to make it a little bit more, even contested between bat and ball. But yeah, I think I said it from the get-go. I played obviously against India in Mohali on a similar surface where the games are tend to speed up. When the spinners come on, I think the ball reacts so quickly off the surface, which allows the batters absolutely no chance to react to it. So yet again, I make the point. Yes, you want to obviously prepare yourself, conditions that can best suit you, the home team. But at the end of the day, I just think there is too much of a imbalance, and especially in Test match cricket. I think you do want to see batters get in. You do want to see batters get big hundreds. If they get themselves in, we talk about Kemba Bavuma. I think KL Rahul has displayed that for India. Perhaps having the best technique of playing spin, but even the two of them are finding it real difficult to score. And
Yes.
that illustrates certainly to me that there's not a fair contest between bat and ball.
Excellent. Let's go deeper into this. Let's get some perspectives and views from the Indian camp. Akshar Patel speaking on the broadcast on Star Sports and Jio Hotstar has this to say at the end of day two. The pitch is straight from one end, turning and bouncing from the other, says India's spinner. Attacking cricket needs to be played. On such tracks, you have to convert loose balls to boundaries. You can't ever be set. There's help for bowlers and can get carried away. We have to be aware not to do that. 125, if we restrict them to, we can chase the total down. Now, that is Akshar Patel, and I'm sure we'll hear multiple voices that will come through in the aftermath of this test match from both sides. I think Ravi Shastri earlier in the day said it was an ordinary pitch, and that was in the morning session. Mr. Gavaskar, I think after lunch, said it's not a treacherous pitch, but we're seeing more and more cricket being played on it. So the timing of these comments is also worth noting down. Pitch preparation sometimes is also a concept that needs to be objectively analyzed. Sometimes we look at pitches and we say, oh, this is poor from the home team. But at the back of what happened to the Indian team in the New Zealand tests, we thought perhaps now that would be a reality check that India doesn't need such pitches necessarily. Do you leave room for the possibility that this has happened in many ways by accident, that the Indian team may actually not want this? but it might have been a miscalculation just in pitch preparation.
I mean, I know the person who makes the pitches over there, and he's been a very experienced hand, and he will not dish out something of this sort for a test match which is being played at Eden Gardens after a gap of 6 years.
Absolutely.
So I'm not so sure that this is being done by the curator on his own will, at his own will. So there must have been some instructions, and the earlier instructions, like when I was part of the setup, yes, we made mistakes which we did realize, like the first test against Australia, it was at Pune, and we played on a similar surface and got defeated.
Yes.
But therein we made a sort of a conscious decision not to go ever to those sort of pitches. And the kind of test matches that we saw after that, they were good test matches, lasted over 4 days, 5 days. We had some good tough series against England, also the Australian series. So I thought that maybe when Rahul Dravid was at the helm of the affairs, even he pivoted towards the last test match that was in Ahmedabad. Before that, they did try and they lost a test match. Probably that test match was in Indore or Delhi, I don't really remember. And I just felt that as management, when the penny drops, that okay, we can trust our players to win test matches, even if the opposition has certain strengths. But there is no harm in winning on day 5. And that is something for all the decision makers to understand, because it does give at times false hopes to spinners as well, wherein you just have to come and bowl the ball in the right area and the pitch does the rest, and it can play, it can dent the batsman's confidence as well if he's not scoring enough runs in home pitches.
Yeah, I mean, to take that conversation deeper, and I'm sure Vernon will have a lovely take on this too. We tend to see wickets in South Africa at times with the extra bit of grass left to again suit the advantage of the home team. But is it fair to say that when a pitch is on the drier side, that makes for a more difficult product, you know, from a broadcast point of view, from a viewer point of view, when it's almost impossible to get bat on ball? There are bad pitches overseas as well that we've seen, but when the pitches are of this nature, it does affect, you would say, Test cricket as a product or as an advertisement, like you point out?
It does to an extent, because it affects the players directly. I mean, the first players, the first party to get affected is the players themselves, and they have sort of worked hard over a number of years to get where they are. I think when you do not trust the pitch anymore, what happens within the batsman's mind is that you suddenly start to preempt things. That okay, the ball is going to do something very different. As it is, it's such a mental game that it is difficult for you to stay in the present. But on pitches like that, wherein you are not so sure, you cannot trust the pitch, then it all the more goes down to what is going to happen, or which is the ball which has got a name on it, and that's where you do not play the way you usually play, and that's for me is an opportunity deprived to a particular player.
Vernon, jump in, please.
Yeah, I think, look, I absolutely hate when, surfaces do become the talking point in a test match. I think we've got two of probably the world's leading test sides going head to head, in a contest. And you certainly want the skill sets, to be really, the talking point at the end of the day. Yes, you make mention of the fact, when you tour South Africa, you get, some spicy surfaces. But I do feel in South Africa, as a batter, if you get in, there's still run scoring opportunity. And some of these surfaces do deteriorate over time. But I do feel there needs to be, at some point, still be a fair contest between bat and ball. And I don't think we are seeing that right now. No matter how batters are, applying themselves on that particular surface, there is just no run scoring opportunity. I mean, it's difficult to put it into words, but I just feel that at the end of the day, we still want to see, a Bumrah, taking a fifer, winning the game for his team. You still want to see spinners, putting in, big spells, setting up batters, and then, getting rewarded at the end of the day. Not just rocking up and landing a couple in the zone and picking up 4 for 5 for spit. So, a bit disappointed from my side, but at the end of the day, there's still a test match, to be won from either side. I think South Africa still has an opportunity, to form a couple of lower order partnerships. I still feel if you get between 120 and 150, I don't think it's going to be an easy run chase, given the nature of that surface.
150 is worth like 400, I think, with the way things have gone over here. Let's wait for that. Yeah, let's wait for that. And I'm sure we'll have more conversation on this. Yes, you want to see skills rewarded. That Test cricket is the pinnacle of skill in our game, and we want to see skills rewarded. Vernon said we can't put words, can't really get the words right for the pitch. How about a number? Let's rate the pitch out of 10. Both of you play match referee for 2 minutes and rate the pitch out of 10 for now. Mr. Bangar?
I would rate 5.5 to 6, maybe 6 on the higher side.
Very gracious. Mr. Philander?
I'm going to go 4.
All right, 4 and 6. Let's see how things go going forward. Let's just talk about where this game stands and the standout performers as we have it on day 2. And one thing, that when you get a pitch like this, even if you have multiple spinners, Ravindra Jadeja just becomes another level of threat, even in comparison to all the other spinners that might be on display. And even now, we might be saying it's perhaps the last quarter of his career, the twilight of his career, he's still just as dangerous and he can keep going. And therefore, Ravindra Jadeja is our Bajaj Finserv bankable player of the day. Right, so our Bajaj Finserv Mutual Fund bankable player of the day is Ravindra Jadeja. It's not a story that we've not seen before, but I think that's the point I'd like for you to try and illustrate how, in comparison to even other spinners, Jadeja is a whole different level of unplayable, if I can say that.
Yeah, because he's got his stock ball sorted and he doesn't really want to have too many variations. You rarely see him bowl the arm ball. It's just ball in, ball out, over after over, come and bowl the same way on a particular length, whatever the length is. And that to me has been classic Jadeja for a number of years. So when pitches do offer so much turn and variable bounce, then it is quite a easy thing for Jadeja to pick up those wickets, because that is the best thing that a spinner can do, master his stock ball, and you do not actually need any other type of delivery to pick up a lot of wickets.
Vernon, what I'd like for you to come in on, which I'm sure wouldn't be easy, even if this pitch is assisting, is the accuracy when you have to bowl at a certain pace and still have that kind of accuracy. You know, even at this age with Ravindra Jadeja at 37, I'm sure as a bowler you can appreciate just the physical aspects or attributes that Jadeja possesses that allows that pace to be just perfect.
I think he's an absolute nightmare. I faced him in Mohali, on a similar kind of surface. And as a batter, I think you watch 1 or 2 turn past the outside edge, and all of a sudden you start following it, with the blade because you're expecting it to turn. But then, of course, his natural trajectory means that ball coming back in at those pads, and obviously he brings the stumps into play all the time. So he's a real difficult customer to face, and that's why I made the point earlier. When you face up to guys like these, you'd almost say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to play for the straighter one. If he takes the outside edge, well bowled, but again, he gets 2 or 3 balls to turn in and over, and you as a batter get into some sort of rhythm, expecting the 4th and the 5th ball to turn as well. And therein lies his big skill, to obviously, get the ball to come back, hit you on the pads or, clip those stumps. But yeah, he's so accurate. I don't think he missed the stumps often enough. So yeah, as a batter, you almost have to say to yourself, what is my game plan here? And you have to try everything in your capability to put him off that line, because he's not going to go away. So yeah, when surfaces are of this nature, he becomes an absolute nightmare to face.
Yeah, I mean, there's one more thing. And while we again established there are a lot of things going for Jadeja on a pitch like this, sometimes when it's turning like this, you see a lot of spinners also get so much turn, more than they perhaps even want. He still manages to get the stumps into play. Now, if that ball to Tristan Stubbs is just kissed off stump, which is the peach ball, I'm guessing it's not as easy to also get the line accurate when the pitch is turning sort of as viciously as this.
I mean, for any spinner, the length is mandatory. You can obviously change the line, but the length remains the same, more or less. Maybe a difference of a couple of inches here and there. But what he does is that, because there are fielders in closing positions and batsmen at times do not want to come onto the front foot thinking that, what is going to happen. And that's why Stubbs playing to a ball which he could have played on the front foot. So that enormous pressure that he puts on batters ball after ball, at times not only the variation in the pitch, but also because batsmen being reluctant to come onto the front foot on a consistent basis.
Oh, he's 4 wickets, enough to get him in this segment. But how about the 27 runs he got? Runs were double or triple in this test match.
Yeah, this has been a very, very good year for him last couple of years, wherein he's got the promotion, he's batting higher up the order. And on such surfaces, he is very good against spin as well. So overall, Jadeja, the all-rounder, you can't keep him out of the game.
Excellent. Ravindra Jadeja, the all-rounder that he is, and therefore featuring at the end of day 2 in our Bajaj Finserv Mutual Funds Bankable Player of the Day. All right, let's go to more individual efforts. And like we've established, 39 from KL Rahul is the highest score of the test match so far. And therefore, Sanjay started the show, Vernon, by praising Temba Bavuma. 29 not out of 78 on what is clearly a nightmare of a pitch to survive on, let alone score. What stands out about the South African South African captain's batting so far?
I think he's perhaps the one, the best batter against spin. The reason, therefore, is he gets forward. He doesn't play everything off the back foot. I think in South Africa, batters are so spoiled because of the nature of the surfaces over here. You can trust the pace, you can trust the bounce, and that's why you can play the majority of your balls off the back foot. But I think technically he's well equipped in terms of reading, obviously what ball comes out of the hand first of all, but then being able to make that adjustment quickly. I think also because he's short in stature, he reads the length pretty quickly as well. So you rock back, it doesn't have to be all that short, but he has the ability, to pick up length very quickly. And then he plays, obviously, that sweep shot, with great confidence just to put the bowler off. So perhaps South Africa's best player off spin in general, but also I think he's the one player and the one batter that allows the ball to come to him. Even when the seamers are obviously bowling with the reverse swinging ball, he plays the ball really late. He plays it under his eyes. So, yeah, perhaps South Africa's best batter. But yeah, he probably has his work cut out tomorrow to be a little bit more assertive and a little bit more positive.
Sanjay, anything to add about what other batters could learn from Temba Bavuma?
I think trusting your defense and defending on the front foot, because that's where the challenge is, that you have to literally force yourself to get onto the front foot and defend the ball, because you get to the pitch of the ball, smother the turn, and that's where you give yourself the best chance to score runs on such surfaces.
All right. Well, let's look ahead to day 3, the moving day or the final day of this test match. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bangar, the pitch is rolled every morning, is it not?
Yeah, why are you asking me this question?
I'm just making sure, sometimes I forget basic things. So, in the morning it seems like there's not as much action. Then an hour later, like we saw today as well, it was the last 40 minutes before lunch that suddenly things started to happen, and then it was just kept going. So, is there a possibility that South Africa could get some runs here, get close to a lead of 120 or even 100? Right now the lead as things stand is 63. Now if they get to 110, 120, you might think that we've got a game on here.
I think 120, even if they get to 120, and it would take a massive effort from the remaining batters to get there. Indian team, they do have depth in their batting lineup. So I don't think 120 is going to be a big issue for the Indian team. If it goes above 150, that would be a challenging score. Yeah. So they would feel very, very confident of chasing down anything under 120.
India's bowling plans would be to continue with the threat of Jadeja and Akshar, Jadeja and Kuldeep. Do you start with a Bumrah on the fresh morning? I hope they remember Mohammad Siraj is still in the 11. He didn't get a ball so far in 35 overs.
With Rishabh Pant at the helm, you can't really predict what he's going to do, because you saw clearly, even if some bowler was picking up a wicket, you could see him replaced from the in the very next over, because he thinks a little bit differently. Even his plans against Jansen, wherein when Jansen was really looking to take on the bowlers, he hardly had any fielders in catching position. So he tries and does things differently from a captaincy point of view, and hence I think he would certainly want to start with Bumrah and a spinner, Bumrah and most probably Ravindra Jadeja to start with, and then keep on rotating the bowlers as he did today.
All right, Vernon Philander, weigh in on tactics from both teams. How does South Africa try and make a fight of this, try and push and get as close to the 120, 150 mark if at all? And what will be India's biggest threat on the morning of day 3?
Yeah, I think perhaps from South Africa's point of view, it's for both those batters to get in and get starts. I think that's going to be important. You're not going to walk onto that surface and just blaze it from ball one. I think it's going to take application, obviously at the start in the morning. So hopefully, both of them can get in, form a little partnership. I do feel if they can get 60 to 70 runs, obviously with the last couple of batters remaining, they would have given themselves a chance. I don't think it's going to be enough still, but they would have afforded themselves a chance. Well, if I'm India, I'll definitely turn to those bowlers, Kuldeep, as well as Bumrah. I think those are probably the two best bowlers, for this kind of surface. And I'd revert to them straight away. Send the cat amongst the pigeons early on, and obviously, you want to try and get the job done. I think right now it's all about momentum. So either team, if South Africa gets a bit of a partnership, they get 60, 70 runs, they take the momentum with them into their bowling innings. But of course, if India wraps it up early, they will have momentum with them into their batting innings.
Now, before I get a prediction from both of you, I just want to ask one question. I just want to make sure I cover all my bases here. Now, you two have seen a lot more cricket than me. I had the good fortune of being in South Africa in the 2018 series where Vernon was outstanding in the first test at Cape Town, and then we went to Joburg after Centurion. And in Joburg, one of the days we went off early. The game was called off early because the pitch was considered to be dangerous. One hit Dean Elgar on the head, fans would remember. But the next day, it seemed like the pitch improved, just when we thought that it was so dangerous. So you know where I'm going with this. Is there any chance that on day 3, this pitch might improve? I'm just making sure I cover all my bases over here.
I think about the question of the Joburg pitch, even though Vernon was part of the South African setup, I was part of the Indian setup.
Yes, sir, you were there, I remember.
How the pitch improved on the 5th day, Vernon being the local boy, he would answer it better.
Yeah, Vernon.
We've left the rollers on for a little bit longer in the evening, just to flatten those cracks. But I expect Sanjay to give that surface in Kolkata a good watering tonight, so we can have a bit more moisture in it.
And on that lovely note, let's take predictions. Vernon, how is this game going to play out tomorrow morning?
Yeah, look, I'm in my honest view, it's going to be really tough for South Africa to come back into this particular fixture. I think India has bossed, most of the sessions, and I mean, at the end of the day, you look back at how many sessions you've won in the Test match. I think, India is obviously topping that chart at the moment. So I do feel India favourites, but Test match cricket, you just never know. I think on a tricky surface, again, I'll say it. Hopefully South Africa can get 60, 70 runs just to make it contest a little bit more interesting, obviously that run chase. But yeah, I think India for the win in this particular fixture.
All right, Mr. Bangar?
Yeah, if the score is over 100, then I would see maybe a couple of wickets down, but India winning this contest by 6 wickets.
Okay, fair enough. Well, one of those wickets that may or may not be in play is Shubman Gill. That's the, we don't really have an update other than what the BCCI released about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on day 2, which is that he has a neck spasm and that they're monitoring him. They would have taken a call on his participation in the day, but that didn't play out given how the Indian innings finished. So we'll wait to hear more, and you can catch ESPNcricinfo for that, but we'll wait to see if Shubman Gill is someone that can bat on day 3 and if needed at all. Thank you very much, Sanjay Bangar, Vernon Philander. I would say we will meet at lunchtime on day 3. If we have a lunchtime show, I think South Africa would have made a real fight of this. So then this should be fun. Otherwise, it might be an end of match show. Regardless, we will have you covered with all the analysis you need right here on Bajaj Finserv Mutual Funds presents ESPNcricinfo Matchday. So see you then.